DOE's grid reliability report sounds the alarm. Blackouts could go as high as 100% increase. That on the Energy Newsbeat Daily Standup. UAE says oil market needs more oil with healthy demand. This is actually huge. This is a follow along to my story yesterday. OPEC Plus production push, a response to market signals. OPEC Plus, responsible for half the world's oil supply, has been unwinding production cuts implemented in 2022 to support prices. The group began reversing these cuts in April 2025 with an increase of 138 barrels per day, followed by 411,000 barrel hikes in May, June, and July. August's decision to add another 548,000 barrels reflects confidence in healthy market fundamentals. And this is critical. I got to hand it to Ananias. He is on X. His post is in here. Take a look at him. Follow him. Watch the UAE minister talking about decline rates and the need for additional investment and the oil price needed for such investment. It's almost like he read my article or listened to the podcast the day before. He is spot on, not only because he's agreeing with me, but because we're saying the same thing. And you take a look at OPEC faces a strategic dilemma, prioritizing market share or defending higher prices. It's going to be a tightrope for them to do. The UAE's assertion that the oil market craves more OPEC barrels reflects a moment of optimism and global demand. However, the group's ability to deliver on its production promises is far from guaranteed. We have seen that they have not been able to produce. I have a question whether or not they can actually do some producing on that. Let's go to the next story here. The DOE's Department of Energy Grid Reliability Report sounds the alarm, and oh boy, opportunities for investors in a strained energy landscape. I got to hand it to Secretary Chris Wright in the Department of Energy. This is a very thorough report. It's a little different than what I had come up with my crayon numbers, but the Department of Energy's report released on July 7th highlights significant grid reliability risk by 2030 due to surging demand from AI data centers manufacturing, with potentials for blackouts increasing 100-fold. It seems likely that companies providing firm dispatchable power like coal, natural gas, and nuclear, and those innovating grid modernization will benefit, given the report's emphasis on reliability. Research suggests investors should consider firms like Peabody Energy, Constellation, NextEra, Vistra, GV, Vernova, and based on their alignments with report findings. This is critical. We've been on a very flatline growth structure for the United States grid for a very long time, and this is now huge. When you take a look at the report, I've included a copy of the entire report. Go to this article on energynewsbeat.co and take a look at it. It is all in here, and I did not have how they had this broken out into some really key areas. Demand surge, electricity demand projected to 16% over 5 years. Generation requirements, 104 gigawatts of retirements by 2030. That's not very far away. Mostly coal, with only 22 gigawatts of new firm baseload. Natural gas or nuclear from 209 planned gigawatt additions. That is huge. It means that there's 209 solar or wind or all these other, but they're not mainline stable. That is critical. Only 22 gigawatts stable demand. This is going to be Spain all over again on the United States grid. Outstanding job calling attention to this by the Department of Energy. I've got other ones in here for folks wanting to know, wait a minute, where do I invest? I don't give investment advice, but I do look for good investment opportunities. And when you take a look at that, the full DOE report is there. ERCOT is not in a good state, and there are only two that passed the DOE's test for being up there. So, and they were kind of like iffy. This is huge. Secretary Chris Wright is ahead of the curve. Instead of waiting for the blackouts, he is running right on into it and saying, we've got to fix it. Hats off to them for recognizing the problem, and we will be reporting on how well they're doing and keeping an eye on it. Great job. Speaking of Secretary Chris Wright, the U.S. breaks ground on first rare earth mine in 70 years, bolstering critical mineral independence. Chris Wright will be breaking ground on July 11th at Aramco Resources Brook Mine carbon ore rare earth project in Ranchester, Wyoming. This is critical. It's the first new rare earth mine in the United States in over 7 decades. This milestone is celebrated as a declaration of America's resolve to reclaim its leadership in critical minerals and energy dependence. Here's the cool thing. And by going through with this is taking coal ash and other used carbon and other areas and really digging in. It's cheaper and it's better, faster to get to market because it's already ready to rumble and get into a ore state so that they can process it. This is phenomenal. Well done, Secretary Wright, and way to go. Let's go to take this next price here. Copper prices to the moon after Trump announces a 50% tariff. Just when you thought tariffs were a bad thing, I think this is kind of entertaining. President Trump, I believe we are going to be getting $300 billion in revenue from tariffs, and inflation is down. Way to go, President Trump. Trump's tariff announcement made at the White House cabinet meeting July 8th aligns with its America First policy to rebuild U.S. industrial supply chains. The 50% duty matching existing tariffs on steel and aluminum stems from Section 232 investigation launched in February 2025, which examined copper imports on a national security ground. How much copper, and I had to ask a question, how much copper does the U.S. need? Copper is the backbone of everything that we need. At the time I'm writing this, is gearing up for 40, a single EV requires 183 pounds of copper compared to just 40 pounds for a traditional gas power. The U.S. is gearing up for massive increase in copper demand driven by ambitious climate goals, infrastructure investments. At the time I'm writing this, I'm also producing a podcast for David Blackman this morning, which was absolutely wonderful, and Dan Jurgen, and they are discussing the shortage of copper, which is expected to become a critical problem for the administration to address. Hats off to those two industry leaders as they're talking about this, and that was fun to produce that podcast. The 50% tariff could disrupt these imports, potentially causing a supply shortage and driving up costs. But what it does do is hopefully protect some folks in the United States to get a mine going. With Secretary Wright going to the first one that we've opened in 75 years, he is on point, and I think he's off and running. Let's take a look at the last story here. Before I go to the last story, let's give Steve Reese over at ReeseEnergyConsulting.com, ReeseEnergyConsulting.com, a shout out for sponsoring the show. I'm going to get to interview him on Friday. That'll release the following week, and it is a great interview with Mark Lancaster. We're talking about natural gas from all around the United States and other things around that. So looking forward to interviewing him on Friday. This is going to be a great discussion that the staff is going to get rolled out as soon as they possibly can. But I go to ReeseEnergyConsulting.com if you are looking for where to source natural gas. If you're in the data center space, where do I build a data center? How do I get my backup supply? They've got your answers. Let's go to Saudi Aramco, eyes U.S. LNG with Commonwealth LNG talks, what it means for volumes and financials. Saudi Aramco, the world's largest exporter, is making waves in LNG with an advanced negotiations to secure 2 million tons per year of LNG from Commonwealth LNG's terminal in Cameron, Louisiana. This is huge. This is how you talk about being energy dominant. And as Chris Wright has been saying, energy dominance is something that's very important. And today I had the pleasure of interviewing Doomberg, Mike Umbro, and David Blackman, and we talked about energy crisis going on thanks to Governor Newsom. And that is going to air a week from Friday. That is going to be an outstanding podcast. But the 2 million MTPA offtake would position Aramco as a notable player in the U.S. LNG export market, complementing its broader strategy to monetize Saudi Arabia's vast resources. While Aramco's domestic gas production is primarily used for power generation and petrochemicals, its international LNG aims to capture markets in high demand regions like Asia. Its insatiable appetite for LNG to fuel an industry. Well done, Saudi Aramco. And again, I just want to give Secretary Chris Wright a shout out. I know I keep doing that all the time, but the man's working for the United States energy dominance, and I sure appreciate him. Hey, thanks, like, subscribe, go to the theenergynewsbeat.substack.com, go to energynewsbeat.co or energynewsbeat.com, and we look forward to speaking with you. I get to interview next week Jay Yu. He is the founder and CEO of Nano Nuclear. Just interviewed the CEO of RABC, a natural gas consulting firm. That was also a great interview. I've got lots of interviews. And then on Friday, I've got John Bruton. He is the CEO in my series on AI and data centers. That one's coming out this Friday. So buckle up, have a great day, and look forward to speaking to you. Read this to your pets and make sure you're being epic. Have a great